Hello and welcome back. This is Grillenheimer. Thanks for watching. Now, sorry, I was fighting. I'm a little out of breath. I shouldn't be, but I was fighting for about longer than needed to just to change out a bulb on the tail light of one of my vehicles. I don't want to get into that. Anyway, took longer than it should have. That's all I've got to say about that. Now, this is the two-player starter set rules from turn of the year, spring, with had Bumblebee in a low star prime, like a 7-star prime and a 7-star Megatron, I think, and a 5-star Starscream. Not a whole lot of great abilities, but you can play those characters in a wider deck, be able to still play the Optimus Prime and Megatron cards, even though they're not strong characters. It was just for the starter set. Now, this is sort of part of the basic information, possibly, because, I mean, they do get into some of this stuff, and they say that on your turn, and then it just goes 1 through 5. Let's go back here. And it says, you may flip one of your character cards to its other side. And it says the word may. Means you don't have to, but you may do it. It's a very decisive decision whether you I messed up this table. Flip a character or not. Now, this are the Devastator instructions. The basic stuff here, building a team and deck, and they don't really give you a whole lot of anything to go on building a deck other than watching your star limit. That's it, and your minimum of 40 cards. What to do to win, KO your enemy. Whoop-de-doo. We all know that. And see, there's Devastator. Devastator. And then it says, taking a turn. At the start of your turn, draw a battle card. Then you can do the following in any order. And we have 3 dots here. Excuse me. This is going to be changing yet again. Flip one of your characters on the battlefield or in your KO area to its other mode. By this time, we were in the Combiner Wave 2 era, and we had Sentinels that had KO abilities, and abilities that would only work if they were in the KO pile. But it says, then you can do the following in any order. So do we have to? Now, you may not always have an action card or an upgrade card that you can play. So if you can't play them, you may not be able to play a card during your turn, or one of these every single time. But it almost sounds like, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, I understand that, that it almost gives me the impression that I can do all of this, or I don't have to do all of this. But it says you can. It doesn't say may. It says can. And why do I bring a point to this is because the instructions on the cards, on the character cards and the battle cards, are very specific in how they are worded on what we can do when we can do them. Let's keep going. Let's take a look at something else. Let's not say we did. No. Now, and I did go online and look at the Transformer TFG .com/rules. And I wrote it down. I could have printed it out. The basic, I just have this hand drawn, so I just wrote it out. I don't know about our printer right now. Basic. On your turn, you may flip one of your characters' cards to its other side. You may. But that's only on the basic directions. Well, on the regular play, or advanced, so to speak, taking a turn, and it's more like this right here, verbatim. At the start of your turn, draw a battle card. Then you can do the following in any order. I mean, it's verbatim from what's here on the instructions, in any order. And number one is flip your characters on the battlefield or in your KO area to its other mode. And then it lists 3 other dots. Now, those are coming up here in the Soundwave Blaster instructions that we're about to look at. So still, you can do the following in any order. But it only sounds like you only don't do it if you can't. Like if you have a handful of upgrades and no action cards, or a handful of action cards and no upgrades. Well, if suffice it to say, if you have no upgrade cards in your hand, you cannot play an upgrade card. If you do not have an action card in your hand, you cannot play an action. All your characters are in the field. You can flip one. It doesn't say may. So I am reading this in as that we need to flip one. I'm sure if Joe ever sees this, which I doubt he will, he'll say, no, you're reading too much into this. You're wrong. You don't have to flip. And I understand that. So let's just look at the last one here, which is the exact same thing as this. It really is. And this is the Blaster Soundwave deck here. Oh, and it's way down here on the bottom. on the front, and it's the same thing, the exact same thing. Flip one of your characters on the battlefield or in your KO area to its other mode. You can do the following in any order. It's verbatim. The only difference is we have a 4th dot, because this was after Wave 3, and we had the small characters with the tap ability. So now you can flip, you can play an action, you can play an upgrade, and you can use a tap ability on one of your characters. But of course, you have to tap that character first before you can do the ability. Thus, tap ability. Now, then we have going into Wave 4, which is just released. I don't have my box yet, so I don't have that information. But I've watched enough to know that... And that's what I'm going to be doing with a few of my characters, but not many, is that there are KO abilities. I was wrong on one of WotC's videos it was a question. I don't know if anyone really answered or not, where if you have Wave 1 Jetfire in your KO area and you flip him in your KO area, can you still put an upgrade on him? No, you really can't, because when a character is KO'd, their abilities are nullified. You can't use their abilities anymore in the KO area. So that was basically my question, and I was wrong. I'll admit that. That's not a big deal. So with that, we now have, starting with Wave 4 characters, we have, and Sentinels from Wave 2, we do have KO abilities. And maybe a few Dinobots too. I can't remember. But we do have some stuff coming where if a character is in the KO and you flip it, something's going to happen in your battlefield. It will affect it. So just because, let's say, Wave 1 Flame War, whoa, I'm getting real shaky. If Wave 1 Flame War is in your KO and you flip her to give everyone Tough 1, that's not going to happen because she's in the KO. That ability is nullified, So, their regular abilities you can't use anymore. But if it has a KO ability, and I think it actually looks like this, like the word exception in dark with the colon on there. And it has KO, colon, and what that ability is. So which is neat. It's going to turn, no pun intended, some neat effects to start up to be triggered and affected in parts of the gameplay, which are going to be really neat. Some of my homemade characters, I'm doing the same thing. Not many of them, to where if they're in the KO, if they're knocked out and they're in the KO and you flip them to a certain side, it will trigger an ability that is again not triggered if they're in the battlefield, and they have to be knocked out first. Just like as if you're playing with a battle master, you cannot flip them to the other side until they are KO'd, until they're knocked out. So that's really all I had to offer, but I can't exactly say if this is mandatory or not. But you can do it the following in any order. Where's that? Here we go. Oh, but it's not on the same page, because there's one, the first the first bullet point, and here's the other three. So, sorry, I'm not using a computer. One of these days I'm going to figure that out. I just don't have time. We had somebody come over and pick up my son. I had to go drop my daughter off for a practice, and we have to go pick her up here in about an hour. So I don't have a lot of time. Dinners and laundry and trash. I got to put trash out. I could be doing leaves right now. Like I said, I just replaced a bulb in the back of one of our vehicles too, and that was a bigger ordeal than necessary. But anyway, with that, that's all I really have is going over the verbiage on this. And so I still play, and it's my prerogative. I can do this or not. But I play it as if I'm flipping with every turn. Unless the exception to that is if you have 4 wide, the other team is 3 wide, and the other team is all tapped. I mean, let's say, they've already played, they went, he went, and then Ratchet went. That leaves 2 on this side. So I would still flip one of these strategically because I need to, and I do it on every turn. And then she would attack, but then Skywarp couldn't flip. I would still follow that line of thought that, the Wreck and Rule guys and WotC and everybody else has mentioned as far as the gameplay goes before the untap phase begins. So that's all I got to say about that. That's all I have. I do live in Alabama. And with that, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.